Greetings, peace, everybody. Welcome to Community Radio. I'm Kim, your host, and today is Thursday. And I just have to make a quick apology for last night's show. On Wednesdays, we air from 9 to 11 o'clock now to catch some of you all in the afternoon. And I remember thinking about it afterwards. I was saying that we would be here. I was thinking today was Friday instead of Thursday, so I was rushing the strong a bit. So got my days mixed up. But today is Thursday, not Friday. So we're here at our regular time, which is 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow we'll be live from 7 to 9 a.m. So we'll catch you in the dawning when you're having your tea or your coffee or, whatever it is that you do to get your day started. We'll be there. So you'll have a chance to call in tomorrow to contribute to the conversation or to bring anything up. And I will that I didn't lose too many people with that mistake, because I definitely said today was going to be, I was thinking today was Friday. But the number to call in is 515-605-9862. And just press the number 1 if you have a question or a comment. And I do see we have some people on the line, so thank you all for calling in. And it's so funny because I know who it is. That's that's how long long I've been, I guess, doing this and have kind of gotten used to some of you all. So if you guys have a comment, just press the number 1 and I'll bring you in. Before I start, I just want to remind everybody that we're gearing up for the Phase 1 challenge. And that is so that those of you who are in the class who maybe have been kind of dragging a little bit, or those of you that have just come in the class, if you need a little help getting through it, we now have this challenge where we're kind of moving together in a group. And so we're going to have videos and all types of support and contributions from not only, those of us who you all are familiar with, like Zach, Brother Zach, Charles, Sister Taya, and so forth. But we're also getting help from you all who are actually, participating in class and who have expressed an interest to want to help. And so that's also part of the reason why we started the challenge, because everything is expanding, and we know that you all want to be a part of some of the projects that are going on. But before you can do that, you have to have at least completed Phase 1 of the training. And that is just so that we can all kind of be on the same page, and, everybody is everybody understands the culture of Anu and what's expected and things like that. So nobody is kind of off doing, doing something completely different than what the mission is. So in June, we're actually going to have a retreat to celebrate the completion of those classes, of the first phase, modules, I meant to say. A celebration to celebrate completing the class. And so that'll be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it, so we can finally get to meet some of you all, and everybody can kind of step away from the social media, avatars and YouTube comments and all of that. We can actually meet and see each other's face and, just exchange energy on a different level. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be in June, which is the new year for Anu. So if you're not in the challenge, make sure you get signed up, and you have to be enrolled in Phase 1. So if you're just taking the free course, that's not Phase 1. And you can't be a part of the challenge. You have to be a student of Phase 1. All right? So looking forward to that. Also, I just want to remind you all to check out Sadulu House, which is where you can go to sign up for the class and other classes that we offer. And also you can check us out on YouTube at Enlightenment and Transformation, Anu Nation, Orisha Yoruba, same places on Facebook as well. So any information and news you can check those sites out and get some updates and find out what's going on. Okay. Let's see what else is new. Yeah, I think that's about it. But last night we had a really good conversation. Chief joined the conversation and we had some good laughs. And I found out that the New Edition movie, I guess, was showing last night, which is why Chief said a lot of people were a little distracted from the call last night. So if you saw the New Edition movie, I just wanted to ask, how was it, and what did you learn new about New Edition? I didn't even know anything about it. I know it's coming on. I don't have cable, so it was all new to me, you know. So if you saw and if it was just that good, please, share and let us in on the fun. There's also a couple of movies I've seen recently that I kind of wanted to talk about too, and that was Fences with Denzel Washington, which it was a movie adaptation of the screenplay by August Wilson, which was really good. It has so many different dynamics in it, but most of all, it just reminded me of just how Africans in America have such a hard time with trying to make some type of normal life or some type of life in this country, and just some of the struggles and things that we deal with and some of the dysfunctions and stuff that we have as a result of trying to acclimate ourselves to American culture. It just really takes us out of our nature and really distorts us. And so that was a really good movie. If you get it was interesting for me. If you get a chance, and I've seen, the play before. I think it was James Earl Jones that was playing the main character. That was released. That was on Broadway or something some years ago. But Denzel did an excellent job. Viola Davis did an excellent job. It was a good movie, and there were some other characters in there too that were really good. You could almost kind of tell it was a play, because they didn't steer too far from the script, but it was really good. Again, like I said, as I was watching, I just noticed how painful it is to be a part of this American culture, and just how it takes us so far outside of our divinity and just distorts us so much. Yeah, that's what I got from that movie. It was good though. Yeah, I'll leave it there. If you all have seen it, feel free to comment. And then there was another movie that has been getting all this Oscar buzz and everything. And every time I hear about a black movie that is getting praise or something from the Oscars, I'm very leery to watch it, because I know it's going to show us in some type of demeaning light, or not really speak to us, not really be as accurate as it is, or it's just going to be demeaning for the most part. But this movie is called Moonlight, and it is about kind of like a coming of age story for a young African American boy that was growing up. I think he was in somewhere in Miami, very poor. Mother was a crack addict, and it's kind of about, I guess, it's about his journey, I guess, from boyhood to manhood, and it's shown in stages like that, and it's played by different actors at different stages. But it made me think a lot about a lot of the things that we've been talking about on the show, and that is, again, just like the movie I just referenced, just how we become so distorted and so off and so far from our divinity when we are in this culture trying to create some type of life. This young boy was bullied, so to speak, growing up, when he was young, like the other boys in in the neighborhood would challenge him and he wouldn't fight. He was really, really soft. Every time he was, kind of pushed to the test, like he wouldn't fight or anything. And it made me think about, what Chief was saying, just, things that you go through or tests that you go through as young men growing up, and how these are normal things. Like, the alpha has to make his presence known, and you may be tested from other boys in the neighborhood, or we got to see who's who. We're trying to figure out who's who. Who's the alpha? Who's the beta? Who's the nerd? Who's the jock? Who's the this? Who's that? And it's really a part of growing up. But this young boy, he pretty much just raised himself because he was in a single parent home, and his mother was a crack addict. Ended up being addicted to crack, and it just showed so many scenes of kind of, especially when he was a young boy, some of the things that he went through. As he grew up to be a little bit older, of course, he kind of got picked on and everything because he didn't have, the latest clothes and everything. But, he was raising himself. His mother was zoned out most of the time or wasn't at home. And, he continued to get picked on. He still wouldn't fight. He may have had one or two friends or whatever, but he was still very shy and very, very much an introvert. And I tell you, the movie is quite disturbing. There's even a point where someone in the neighborhood, Chief always says, if you don't have a family, get a family. And so someone in the neighborhood did snatch him up, so to speak, and tried to be somewhat of some type of father figure, but it was a drug dealer, and actually a drug dealer that was selling drugs to his mother. So, the dysfunction is just, clear all the way through the movie, but he tried to save the boy, feed him, give him some place to stay or just sleep when he was afraid to go home, or when the kids were chasing him and trying to beat him up. And later, as he later developed into a teenager, he experienced some odd things that completely distorted his view about sexuality and things like that. And even into adulthood, as he grew to be an adult, he became a drug dealer himself, and was just trying to make it or whatever. But he was still kind of struggling with this incident that happened to him when he was a young boy. Someone did something to him sexually, so he was still kind of confused about what was going on top of processing all of the other crap that he grew up with, a crack addict for a mother, just the abuse, never really standing up for himself. Of course, in between that time, he went to prison because one day he did snap on one of the boys that was beating him up in the classroom. He snapped and beat the guy up, and they sent him to jail. And this is when he started to, get buffed. He started, working out, getting muscles and everything like that, and came out and he started selling drugs and all this other kind of stuff. But it's just a journey, told from this playwright's perspective, because the screenwriter's perspective. But it does speak to a lot of the dysfunction again that happens in African American culture in this country, and some of the things that we experience, and just how we can get so derailed from what we're here to do and so lost. And it just reminded me of the show from Tuesday when we were talking about the sister was talking about smoking marijuana or whatever in front of her children, and how she felt like that was okay. And Chief was basically saying, like, it's not cool, and sometimes we got to get on a better class of people. But even in watching this film, it's like, uh, again, like her vision of what parenting is, and watching this movie is so common in I will say African American culture, because it comes from a slave culture and slave thinking. Um, it's so common. It's so common that people think is normal, and nothing's wrong with it. And even in this movie, it just kind of puts it in your face. It's kind of, it's, for me, it was very disturbing. It's not an easy movie to watch, and it's not, all flashy and entertaining as well. But if you get a chance, check it out if you'd like to. So anyway, still in thinking along the same lines, and thinking about culture, it just made me think, are we too old or too foreign from the idea of learning a new culture, or are we just really not interested? Um, Chief shared the other day about how people address him on the continent. And for some of us, that is so far fetched and so foreign that, we can't even imagine repositioning ourselves that way. Some of us. Um, and it just, as I was going through some of the old shows, I was just listening to, the Chief, some of the old Chief Speak shows, some of the old Foundational Friday and Underground Thursday shows that were live, where people called in and asked questions. And just listen to how, Chief has been addressed, and how callers called in to talk to him. And I remember when he ended those shows, that was part of the reasons. He was saying, the questions are just too stupid. They're just getting too ridiculous, and that was part of the reason why he stopped doing it. But I as I was watching and listening to some of the old shows, I was also reading some of the comments. And one comment this guy left on I think it was one of the lectures Chief did that he put on the channels. And he says, that video was so deep, my dude. Have you ever written any books? And I just thought to myself, wow, my dude. And then turn around and ask, have you ever written any books? Quite disrespectful, But I do realize that a lot of people don't understand. And that's because, I remember Chief starting out saying, you can address him as, you or Chief or, whatever. But for a lot of us, we don't understand, because everybody gives themselves a title here in this country, and an unmerited title. Like, we don't know if it was earned, or we don't know if this person just grabbed a book of African names and just gave themselves that name. So we don't really have the understanding or respect for certain titles. And some people may think that Chief is just like a name or a nickname, like he gave himself, like most people do, like Baba so-and-so or Iya so-and-so or Iyanla somebody. We just kind of adopt these titles, and some people don't even realize these are titles, like, and not names. But just quite disrespectful. There was another comment left on a video where a sister came in and she says, thank you for your wonderful inspiration and education. However, I beg to differ about your example of Oshun and Oya. Oya and Oshun have a great relationship. They can be next to each other in a shrine or when they're being fed. I assume that you were giving, quote unquote, an example, but it was Oshun that helped to free her sister Oya, who was in captivity. Oshun saved and paid copper for Oya's freedom. In short, this is how Oya claimed copper as her own. I believe and hope. I believe and hope that you meant to correctly state. Wow, let me read that again. I believe and hope that you meant to correctly state that and I want to read it how she spells it, which will give you some clues. Yemaya cannot be on the same shrine or next to Oya due to previous conflicts. Yemaya's betrayal of the cemetery to Oya and Yemaya marrying Oba and Chango, whom Oya loved dearly. Also, the Ori is related to governing our soul. So, Chief got schooled on that. I guess she, and Chief humbly respond, as he always does. No, he just misunderstood. But thank you, and keep watching, keep studying. So again, it's like, there's so much in both of those statements, both of those comments that were left, that, now I can hear, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. We kind of talked about this last night too, is going beyond the cartoonish understanding of Orishas to deal with them on, at a more powerful level. And of course, as you could hear from that comment, this person was wrapped up in the fairy tale of these energies. And, I think this person was calling himself a priestess or a goddess or something like that too. So again, Chief was saying the other day how, this person came into conscious maybe 2 years ago and now thinks they know everything. So, but that's just an example, but wow. So anyway, as I was reading it, I was just asking myself, are we too old or just too foreign to the idea of a new culture and adjusting to a new culture? Or are we just not really interested? I don't know. I think about this so often because even, something like Chief mentioned the other day about the person back on the continent that was older than him calling him uncle, or just carrying his bags. Or even I remember Brother Byron calling him one day and was talking about how you properly address a babalawo, and that is like when you would pretty much just get flat on the floor. And I just wonder, if people have that understanding, or if they actually can adjust, in that way at this point, and as the Anu Nation family is, expanding and everybody's coming into it, it's just something I wonder about. But if you have a question or comment, you can just press the number 1. I'm just kind of talking about some of the things that I was thinking about this dawning. The number to call in is 515-605-9862. And again, I apologize for giving you all the wrong time for today. I was thinking the day was Friday. So yeah, we're here live. Feel free to tune in. Another thing I was thinking about in relationship to what the person was saying about Oya and Yemaya was that, last year during a retreat that we had, we were speaking about patakis and different Orisha, and Chief was explaining how, the goal is not to necessarily become these Orisha and to stick to the stories, like we want to, but we're supposed to evolve the story and go beyond the Orisha story. And I don't think we understand it. Just like in this person's statement, she's definitely, locked into that fairy tale, and that's a code, like one of those codes, just like the number 7, just like astrology, just like zodiac signs, how we get locked into at a certain state and at a certain vibration that we can't move past. But he told us during that retreat that you can change the story, or you can go beyond the story. Go beyond the Orisha story. Don't become the Orisha. We're not here to recreate the stories. We're here to evolve them and go beyond those stories. And it made me think about, as you know, I studied chemistry and worked as a chemist for a while. And so as I'm studying the Orisha and everything, and even these patakis, I'm seeing these interactions as like alchemical processes. or just chemical equations and things like what happens when fresh water mixes with iron, what happens when fire mixes with earth, things like that. So this is how I'm processing and understanding some of these stories. And it made me think, and I started to research this. I was like, you know what? When we talk about going beyond the Orisha, if I'm looking at it in that way, then that means the universe should be expanding and there should be new discoveries as far as elements and things go in science. And so I started to look it up to see, what new elements have been discovered. And there have been none. There have been synthetic elements that have been discovered. If you can say discovered, because they're not actual elements, actually real. They're synthetic or fake. And then you have some that were synthesized, which means it's still not original, or it's still not something like hydrogen or iron or something like that. It's not a naturally occurring element. So there's nothing new being created beyond the basic periodic table of elements that we have. All the weird ones down at the bottom of the chart are pretty much it's pretty much a wrap. Like nothing has been created. So it just made me think, if the universe is expanding or the multiverse is expanding and we're discovering new planets and all of these kind of things, why is it that we have not moved beyond certain elements? Or to make the question simpler, why haven't the Orisha stories evolved? Why have we not gone beyond it? And so it made me think about the show Chief did on old gods versus new gods. And I started to think, like, is it because we're still, even though the universe may be expanding, because we're a few people are shifting their focus, are we still clinging to the old gods and not creating anything new? Are we still locked into that age of belief where we just kind of take the stories that we learn and we're just sticking to them? We're not producing or creating anything new. Let me go to a call real quick. This is 813. 813.
Greetings. Good day,
Greetings.
Sister Kim, to the family.
Peace.
I just, I heard, I'm listening to you speaking so direct, and it just was wonderful. When you were speaking about how elements weren't being created, there was a lecture I heard from Dr. Valentine, and he was speaking on light code lockdown, and how there was and this goes into talking about the lady that had the conversation about the priestess and continuing to use these same fairy tale or the childhood stories and living by those. But the lecture was about light code lockdown, and I can't remember all the elements he was speaking of, but there was one that stuck out, Luciferin, and it was talking about how it's the DNA, and you know what, I don't want to speak too deep into it. Let me just say that there's a barrier that has been in place dealing with light code transmission or DNA or chromosomes, and it's been hard for us to move past that elemental change. I believe, and just me speaking on my comprehension, I will say that I believe that we're in a place now, cosmically, where that barrier can be broken. So, and that's just my statement. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you think
I don't want to put that out. Just for the simple fact that we're right now, the planet is going through a highly charged photonic belt that we've been dealing with, and that's just the scientists and the NASA and all these all these scientists that study the cosmos. That's what they've been stating and reporting. I stay up on those things. I like those little science briefings. So I just believe that we're going through a change, a photonic change, and you speak on photons. We're talking about light. You know what I'm saying? So I think right now we're getting to a place where we're about to break through barriers, and just getting ourselves together is the most important thing, and making sure that we're in right tune with our soul or Ori will help that transition.
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. You know, this is something that, like I said, it just kind of had me in deep thought, you know, for a while, because I was thinking to myself, you know, how is it that the universe or the multiverse is expanding, or and we're not discovering any, you know, nothing. There's nothing new, or are we just still kind of in the same place, but now, you know, our tunnel vision has kind of widened a little bit. And now, you know, it like as if I'm saying like it's always been there, like we just couldn't see it. It's not necessarily expanding. It's just that our vision has broadened a little bit to where now we can see it.
Well, let's look at it as a matter, a scientific way. When we're dealing with water, water is can be an air, liquid, or solid, right? So let's just say we've been
gas,
we started from air. I'm sorry, we started as a gas. We ended it, and we went into a liquid, and we became a solid. Now, at what point does that solid go back to being a gas or a liquid? Usually when we start putting heat or essentially light onto the ice, and the ice starts to melt and it turns into a liquid. Now, there's also another form of it where ice automatically turns into a gas, which I had a big conversation with my earth science teacher about it. It's like I've never seen it. So how can I sit there and say that's real? You know what I'm saying? I've never seen an ice cube directly explode into gas. So maybe just me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Say that again.
I think it's sublimation. I'm trying to remember the word, but yeah, when it skips a phase and goes directly to the next.
Right, and I believe that, you know, we just as solid matter as what we are. I think as soon as we start either sublimation, like we were speaking about, or melting back down to a liquid, that's when the change. You can start seeing more elements coming out. You know, that's just me looking at it scientifically. Some stuff to read.
You know, I wonder about that because recently, I know yesterday I was thinking about, just thinking about what you were saying right now. But yesterday I was thinking, okay, what can I cook today? Several times a year, like I go through these periods of just not wanting to eat, or just not having an appetite for like regular, just solid food or something. Like I feel like I need something else that I'm not getting from food. And so it makes me think, okay, am I transitioning into something else? Like, is my body like morphing into, you go through, as we go through these different, I guess, periods of transformation, or, as we evolve, of course, the physical body has to evolve as well. And so every time I go through one of those periods, it's just like I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I do? So sometimes I'm just drinking water, maybe drink water all the time, or I'm just, ingesting liquids a lot, or, I just don't have an appetite. Something about the food just doesn't feel like it's nourishing or giving me anything. You know what I mean? And after I go through these periods, I look at myself to see how my appearance has changed. And so I find myself, like I said, my body going through these different, it starts to shift. Like my face starts to look different, or I'm shaped different, or my eyes look different. Something starts to take a different shape on me. And I don't know, that kind of makes, I thought about that as you were talking about just what you were just saying. I don't know if anybody else goes there.
if there's somebody else on the line, chime him in. I would like to answer that too, but I would like to hear somebody else's view on it also.
Yeah, maybe it's just me. I don't know. It happens a lot, and it's not. I fasted before and everything, but it's not. I don't consider it necessarily. Well, I'll say it's not a conscious fast. It's just something like my body just, I don't know, just can't take it. And then I started thinking about all these people who are breatharians and fruitarians and all this other kind of stuff, where they just breathe. They don't ingest food and everything. But I don't know, it happens frequently, a few times each year that I go through this. And I don't know. I was just wondering, is this part of evolving?
I'll say it like this. Chief tells people all the time, my aim is to destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
Chief is a catalyst, right? And I'm gonna bring that to me. Me going through the phase one class, I've noticed myself not eating as much as I do, staying away from a lot of food that I normally used to eat that just doesn't fit well in my stomach and my body.
Yeah.
Like last night before we had the show, I had a huge, I always have huge salads, but I had a huge salad, bigger than I normally do. And but I felt, and you can see by my energy level yesterday, like I felt wonderful, and the vibrations were there. Everything was good. So, the catalysts, man, and I think outside of us, outside of the planet, in the cosmos, there's a catalyst going on, a light transmission, a photonic phase that we're going through right now. And what's going on outside of the planet in the universe is also going on inside of the universe.
Right.
It probably would be cool to look more in depth in where the actual galaxy is. Because we always think about just the galaxy. We never think about where the galaxy is in fixation to the other galaxies and how it's moving, So, but just to say, there's a catalyst. There's a catalyst for everything, I think. And you go through those changes when something ignites it. That catalyst actually comes into play. So, meaning like you start doing the reading, you start doing the research for phase one, and then all of a sudden you start thinking to yourself like, oh, these are the things that I've been destroying myself with. Oh, this is what the tools I had, and these were the things that I was using to destroy myself with, or these are the things that I've seen myself gaining with, and take it. I'm only on the third module, so that shows a lot of what I just said, just being on the third module. Learning your life purpose up front. It makes the whole transition, and the catalyst, even you understand that catalyst a lot more than just being told, like, here's Orisha. Yeah, this is fire. This is a candle. This is what you do. Then now you actually, like Chief was schooling me last night about water and Oshun. Water is Oshun. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Catalyst,
yeah. Even what you're saying just about phase one. Again, I was listening to like a lot of the old shows. And as I was listening, Chief has always said like he hasn't gone past kindergarten with a lot of teachings, as far as the information that we get on the shows and everything. And I was just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, as I'm listening, it's so true, because it sounds, the things that we're saying and talking about now were the same things he was trying to teach and get across 3-4 years ago. Same stuff. I'm listening to some of the callers call in with the questions. Some of the questions we have now are still the same. The responses are still the same. Just the topics on culture and protocol and respect and, Orisha and everything else. Like, we're still on that, and I know that, it's partially because, people are keep coming in, people are new and keep coming in, but and so sometimes the information repeats. But I was just like, oh my gosh, like, are you serious? I was like, I just, I've heard Chief say this like 100 times by now, And so it just made me think, about the phase one challenge and what you were just saying about a catalyst. I think that's why the challenge is so important, because something has got to put a fire under you to make you hurry up. Just go ahead and get it done so we can move to another phase. Like, we've been talking about this stuff and talking about it for 4 or 5 plus years, now. Now it's time to kick it up a notch. Okay, you've been in the class for like 3 years. What you gonna do? Like they say, crap or get off the pot. It's like, come on, let's move it. So there has to be a test. There has to be a challenge. There has to be something there to kind of put you to the test. Okay, you've been soaking all this information up for a while now. You've been in the class for a while now. Let's see you do something. Let's do it. And so that's another reason I was thinking about the challenge. That's why it's so important. So you can be tested, and so we can move on to phase 2. Let's kick it up a notch. And made me even think about a show Chief did once before. I can't remember which one it was, because again, there's so many. Where he was speaking about how he's seen people being tested, as a Babalawo on the continent. Like, once you get to a certain point, they'll, put you in an isolated place and tell you, okay, manifest this, and don't come out until it's done, to see if you're ready to move on to something else. So he was just talking about, how magic and things like that is perceived on the continent. Like, it's not a big deal over there like it is over here. It's totally and perfectly natural, to be able to do certain things, whereas we look at it as like, almost like, like a miracle or some type of parlor trick or magic trick. And there was a movie that Chief recommended to me once to watch, and it was such a good movie that was about this. And this priest or Babalawo, I don't say Babalawo, priest or whatever, he was doing a ritual and working with a particular energy, and he was known to be like this a master magician, so to speak. And I was watching, how he was working some of these rituals, and not saying, of course it's a movie, so some of it is, it's fabricated, but he was doing these chants and making these doors and doing certain movements and just working with elements in nature, how he just made fire just appear, or how he made certain things just happen or appear. And nobody is, like spooked out by it. It's totally natural. It's totally normal. And so, it's just, how we look at it here is just so different. And like Chief was saying, like, the elders or whatever there, who are over you will test you and say, okay, you've been, studying, you've been doing this for so long. Okay, now it's time for you to manifest something. Let's see what you can, let's put you to the test, see what you can do. We need, do this and don't come out until it's done. And you have to do it, to be able to pass on to the next phase. So I kind of think about the phase 1 challenge almost in a similar way. Like, we've been soaking all this stuff up for so long, and now it's just time to, all right, let's see what you've learned. Show us what you've learned, and so we can move on and kick it up a notch. Because I tell you, I was so shocked. Like I said, when I was listening, I was like, oh my gosh, I've heard Chief say this 2 times, by now. And it sounded so, at the time it sounded so new and everything. But as I started listening more and more, I'm listening to shows from 2013 or whatever, and I'm hearing it again in 2014. I'm hearing it again from 2015. I'm hearing it again in 2016. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what have I been listening to, or where was my awareness? Because these are the same things that have been said over and over again, So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts and something I've just kind of been, pondering, this dawning and last night. But if you have a question or comment, make sure you press the number 1. We're almost at the top of the hour. The number is 515-605-9862. Let me go to another caller real quick. This is 817. 817.
Greetings.
Greetings. Peace.
Peace. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what you said about, like, you were saying that sometimes you lose, like, your appetite.
Mm-hmm.
That happens to me sometimes, too. Well, that's happening to me now, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't eat anything, like, for the whole day. I just don't feel the need to eat anything. But I guess from what I get from it, for me, is I just realized that I've been using food as like a fulfillment, like just like overeating, like,
mm-hmm. Emotional eating.
Yeah. So
mm-hmm.
I take it as, since I don't really want to eat as much, maybe I'm realizing that that's not fulfilling me, and that I want something more. I want the still thing in place of that. So I'm like, I don't want that. Because I have an issue with sugar, so it's like, sometimes I'm like, dang, I really don't even want sugar right now. I want something else. I want something more, so I just don't eat it, and then I just don't eat anything. So it's like, dang, I don't want that either. I don't want the carbs either. I just don't want nothing. I don't want anything. I don't want any food or nourishment in that way. It's like, for me, it's like I want something more than that. Something more fulfilling in life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
do you have like a trigger? Is there anything that triggers it that you've noticed?
When time for me to take action with things, I realize, okay, I'm bored now. What do I need to do? And I'm like, okay, the only thing left to do is to do the things I know I need to do. And because I don't want to do that, then it's like I go and get the food and stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah, but like, when I don't eat, I feel like when I'm not eating, I feel like I'm doing something more positive and more beneficial to my life. When I'm feeling like, okay, I really don't want to eat, I'll go do something that I need to do,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. Like I said, I've studied these different philosophies just on food and everything. I remember watching this documentary called Eat the Sun, and it talks about sun gazing and how you get your nourishment and everything from the sun. How there was this one guy, his Hiram something, I can't remember his last name, but he went for, was it a year or something like that, without eating anything. He was just taking in sunlight. And they were just talking about how, of course they were promoting, sun gazing and everything, and saying that you don't really need to eat or whatever. But I have tried sun gazing before, and it does take away your appetite a bit. I don't know. Like I said, I've studied these different things: veganism, vegetarians, fruitarians, breatharians. All these people who just kind of develop these diets centered around, whatever their choice is. But yeah, I don't know. It's different times of the year where this tends to happen. So I don't know. We've finally gotten through this gloomy weather here, and the sun's been out. So I'll probably be taking in more sunlight for the next few days. Yeah, it's starting to get back cold. It's been like in the 60s and 70s here, but now the temperature is dropping again, but the sun is out. So maybe I'll take in a little bit more sunlight.
Yeah, it's like that here too. Really cold, but it's sunny. Same. But when I did the sun, I realized that my dreams, they were sharper. They were much more vivid when I was doing it. But I was walking in the grass barefoot too, so it's like, I think that really helped me.
Definitely.
It's been so getting cold now. It's like I don't want to go out there too much.
Yeah. Do you think how do you think you have grown or have changed since coming into our new teachings? Because I remember I was listening to one show and I heard your voice. I was like, oh, that's Sequoia. She's in college. She was here 2 years ago, or how many years ago, 3 years ago. And I was listening to you, and I heard your husband on one show. What do you say about the changes between then and now?
Well, I'll say that I become much more clear, like, about my life, much more I have more clarity on my situation in my life, and I've been looking at it a more objective point of view instead of versus like it's happening to me, you know. I don't know what to do type thing. But now it's like I can look on the outside and be like, okay, you need to fix this. This is something you've been ignoring. So it's like I'm better at self-evaluating myself, and getting closer to like the root of my problem. If I just, you know, sit down and think about it, I can get there. Versus before, it was like, I still don't know what to do. You know, like that. So, I mean, I think I've become much more clear with, you know, meditation. You know, yeah. So just meditation coming up, way better, and it's helped me in that way the most. And it also helps with as of recently, like knowing the roles between me and Randy. So I've been getting into that and looking closer into that. So that's helpful too, like the family structure. The family, like, you know, that's where it's at pretty much. That's the most I got. So it helped me take, you know, pride in having a family, because I always was insecure about having a family because I felt like I was young, you know. But like she said, I'm not so young. So.
Yeah, you said you old. Oh, that's old.
Yeah, so it's like, I guess from my upbringing, I always felt like, oh, you know, I had children too young at 19, but I felt like that was young and that I was looked down upon because of it. So now it's like I have more pride in this family, like, you know, that's something that you should value and that's something that you should take pride in. So it's like I try to make sure that when me and my family go out, it's like we being a good example, you know, other people versus like, kind of shame, like I got a family, I look young, you know. Now it's like, no, I got a family, you know. So I think in those ways, yeah.
You thought you were too young to have a family?
Yeah, because I didn't know anything about like culture or anything like that. It was just purely off my upbringing. So I felt like 18, 19 was young because, you know, I was always telling my family I was going to go to college and this and that, and then when I didn't, I felt kind of, you know, ashamed, you know, I guess, or embarrassed.
So in your family or in your family's culture, at what age is it appropriate to have a family?
Like after you finish college, like maybe like 26, 27, around that. Yeah. Yeah, so I was expecting to finish school and do all that, but it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way.
All right.
Yeah, those are the two main ways. Now it's like I'm at the point where it's like the spirituality, like really like getting deeper into that. Because when I came in, I knew nothing about indigenous culture, nothing about Orisha, nothing, absolutely nothing. And I purely came on the basis of I want to fix my character. I need some help finding myself. I didn't know anything about spirituality. So when everybody was on the show talking about Ori this, I'm like, what is that? I was completely clueless.
Okay.
So it's like I'm just now, like 2 years later, I'm just now, I've been, you know, I got the book a long time ago, but I've been studying. I'm still kind of like trying to integrate that into my life, like having a shrine and doing rituals. Like I'm still trying to integrate that and make going to a shrine normal for me, you know.
Yeah.
Natural. So that's where I'm at now. So it's like I'm trying to dive deeper into that now. So that's why
Is it strange for you?
Huh?
Does it feel strange for you?
Yes. It does. It's so strange. It does, in the sense that I feel like it's awakening something else. Like it's really opening my mind to, you know, a different world. And it's kind of taking me back to my childhood a little bit. It's like I keep getting these, you know, 2 seconds of feeling like a child again, like free in the inside and just, being me. So it's like it's interesting, and I feel vulnerable right now. So very, very vulnerable. So just
How does your family take it? Like, I don't know where your shrines are, if they're in your house or outside, or how your setup is, but have they seen your shrines, and how do they take it, and how do you take it? How do you deal with it?
You're talking about my husband and children?
No, like other family members. So we know Randy's in the class too. So
yeah, I don't. They don't feel no type of way about it because they don't come to my house.
Oh, okay.
I don't entertain them at all. I keep the relationship pretty much. I just cut it off with any type of relatives or anything like that. So they don't know anything about what I do.
Oh. Wow. Okay. What made you just cut them off like that?
There's a lot of I'm too emotionally attached to all the drama and the gossip and the negativity, all that type of stuff. So I feel like I had to separate myself in order to come to a more peaceful place. And they just bring chaos to my life, and they all enable the crack culture and all of that type of stuff, and drugs and violence. So I had to separate myself from them.
Do you ever feel like you'll get to a point to where you can interact with them and not be bothered?
I think I can. Yeah, I think I can if I just work on myself and follow my purpose. And I think I will be able to. Yeah, I'm not just like off any communication. I just don't really know right now it's like I don't really see it being beneficial, but I'm open to whatever happens.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I think Brother Anwar is still on the line. We've got about an hour left in the show, everybody. So if you have a question or a comment, you can just press the number 1, and I'll definitely bring you in. The number is 515-605-9862. And so, were you able to catch the show last night? Have you heard it yet?
Yeah, I heard it.
Oh, okay. What did you think about what she said about, being a bit more just in tune and creative with your ritual work? The examples that he gave on like hooking up the copper, or not the copper, hooking up the wires and shocking issue and things like that. What Anwar was talking about, not bringing water to water.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Like, I was just like, it was for me, it was like a lot of information. I'm like, whoa, because I haven't did a lot of the basic things. So I'm like, I need to say when I come back to it later, because I felt like that really opened something for me, like as far as like how he was explaining like the science behind like why he chose to do the battery and the interaction with putting it through the copper wire and all of that. I was like, wow, that's really like deep, and I always wondered that, what makes this witch hazel, or what makes this, I remember asking Randy, I was like, what is this? He's like, oh, it's such and such. I'm like, no, but what is it?
Right.
And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
So, that really was interesting to me, and that made me like go somewhere else for a second, go to a different place. I can't even explain, but I was like, wow, that's like, it's like, I remember that, like maybe like in a past life or whatever, but it seems familiar. That way of thinking. Okay. So I've been having those moments, like, and it'll have to like have those moments where I feel like I remember something, that has been forgotten. So it's been this experience, like just starting the training, like I'm on the 4th activity. It's been really just opening something, a little, it's like opening some things for me.
Little by little. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was real deep, though, the what he was saying about the rituals, and it really made me want to like get on the basic stuff so I can get to that point where I can become creative like that.
Yeah, it's in the course. It's in phase 1. You'll start to learn how to, what some of the ingredients of a ritual or whatever, certain things that we use are. You learn what they are independently, like salt. Why do we use salt? Why do we use sugar? Why do we use rum? Why do we, so you'll learn some of those things as you go along. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay.
But that's something yeah, it's in there. You'll get there. You won't get everything, but you'll get the basics to where by the time you're finished with the class, you should be able to do your own spiritual baths. You should be able to come up with your own ingredients for certain things, or for certain rituals. You'll have a very, I would say a well-rounded, just the basics of what you need for certain rituals, and you'll be able to combine certain things in that way, like you were saying. I think you will. I know that was something I was going to get into, but before I do that, I'm going to go to this next caller, 797.
Peace, Sister Kim. It's Brother Byron.
Oh, peace. Every time it's like a different number.
I've got a different number, and yeah. That's the trick in it, man.
yeah. That's the issue in you.
And Sister Sequoia, good day to you. Well,
Greetings, brothers.
Okay. So, I've been listening today because I've been doing some stuff. So I've just been listening with the headset in, but I just really wanted to say a comment about how sometimes we can prevent ourselves from evolving. Mm-hmm. So most of us in the West, most of the Africans in the West were brought up as Christians, which has a very static view of God, the world, the universe. Everything is very fixed, and you'd find that the way in which Christians believe in God and worship God hasn't really changed that much over the centuries, and our approach to Christianity and etc. is very much one where we are felt to be of less than or unworthy, and God is significantly greater and better than all humans, and it doesn't recognize or elevate the portion of God that we have, or the portion of Olodumare that we have in each of us. Mm-hmm. Now, when making the transition from deciding not to practice Christianity and to follow African tradition, it's very important that we eradicate that particular worldview that we have, that we are going from one state of worship into another system where we have to worship, and we have to consider ourselves less than, or the deities that we are working with are confined to a particular prism that we've been told they are confined to. And so what can happen, and I think it probably does happen for some, is that if they haven't deprogrammed themselves sufficiently from the Western construct of the world, spirits, ancestors, etc. So if we haven't deprogrammed our minds, so we understand that dealing with our ancestors is a natural process. It isn't evil as portrayed in the Western films and books. It's not sinister. We're not dealing with anything negative. If we don't really deprogram ourselves and acknowledge that it's just a part of our culture, it's a part of our system, and we are equal to everything around us, not in terms of our influence or power necessarily, but we have a right to be here just as everything else has a right to be here. So we're not feeling less than or operating from a position of subservience. Then I think that is when we get stuck in our work with our ancestors and the Orisha, etc., because we haven't evolved into recognizing that they're a part of us and we are a part of them, and so we're tapping into ourselves and the wider universe, etc., the wider cosmos when working with such energies. So when I was reflecting on all of that whilst we were speaking, I just came back to the first lesson in phase 1, where we really have to understand our soul, our spirit, etc., and how they are connected, and the importance of will as opposed to worship. So when I'm working with my rishis and my ancestors, I know some people, you might say I'm asking them, but I'm willing them, because I'm not just speaking with words out of my mouth. I'm trying to connect my spirit and my soul to what I'm doing. So I am utilizing that energy within me to make a movement in their sphere. So I'm not asking them, because when you ask a question, you must expect at some time to receive a no answer. Because when you ask a question, you're not always going to say yes, yes, yes. You know, in this world that we're living in, sometimes folks will say no. But when I'm willing my ancestors and I'm willing the Orisha, I'm not expecting anything apart from what I'm willing to happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to shift the dynamics and the dimensions, so what I'm willing for will manifest itself. And I think it's really important that as students that we understand the power of our own will and the power of connecting to the essence of the entities that we're working with, to will them to act and do things on our behalf. At times, as Chief has taught me, you might have to bargain. If you do this for me, or when you do this for me, I will do that for you. And you have to, you know, within your work with your Rishi, you can find out if that's acceptable or not, by casting our Obi, etc. So for me, the most important thing is just spending that time to deprogram ourselves from the slave names or the Western mentality that we have been given, and our understanding of what is right and wrong, good and bad, black and white. You have to deprogram that. And when I went through that process, it's an empty feeling. Because I thought, well, boy, look at me. I'm a big man. And everything that I've been striving for in my life to this point has been BS.
Yeah.
And to get to that point and have that sincere acknowledgement that everything that you've been told is a fantasy, everything that you've been striving for has been basically worthless, to actually get to that point, it's hard. It's hard for an individual to say, well, I've been wasting time. And I've been programmed wrongly. And then so we've got to empty out, well, hey, I'm going to use a Trump phrase, we've got to drain out our own swamp, and then make sure that we fill up the dam with something that is better and more wholesome for us.
Yeah. That is so true. It's definitely very hard. How did coming to that point, like, did it affect your family any when you were going, or were you going through it, you know, just alone personally, or was this like a family transition? Did you have other people going through it with you?
Okay. Well, my wife is here, so we went through that process together, but differently, because we're different people. We were generally governed. Our heads are different. So, but for me, it impacted on my relations with my family, or in fact, it confirmed some of the relations I had with my family, because I was a bit of the outsider. I was the one, I was a bit of an outsider to the general family, but the reliable one. If there's a problem, you'll call for Byron, because he'll know. He can help out, he can do. So it kind of repositioned that. So I was very clear. So I could remember telling my family, this is what I'm doing. And there was questions, there was rejection from some quarters. The younger people in my family, my older children, their cousins, etc., they were more interested, and more able to understand where I was coming from. So I'm going back a good number of years now. Now it's, as I've probably said before on the show, it's changed significantly now, whereby my family members will be asking me for readings. They'll come for advice on a range of things, from health to marriage to jobs. And then, more often than not, I will open up, or I will have the ancestors. I'll bring part of the ancestral shrine into the home, so we sit and we talk in front of the ancestral shrine. And it's gone to the degree now that one of my nephews, who I supported in his marriage, my nephew and his wife, he gave. We supported my nephew and his wife were difficult in their marriage, and they conceived on the same day after they came down to see my wife and I. And they've named the child. They've named the child a derivative of Obatala, because that what came through in the reading for the child and so forth. And so I was thinking about, from the initial days when, if somebody said to me that my nephews or my extended family would be naming their children with Yoruba names,
wow,
I would say that's not happening. But now, he calls the name and that's it. And he named the child a Yoruba name, and he's very thankful for everything. So what I would say that if anybody is having difficulties with their family, then just be very firm and consistent in what you're doing. There's a saying that you can't choose your family, you can only choose your friends. So your family, you're born into a family, and they will be your family. And so it's up to each person to understand how best to manage their family, and not to allow their families or their extended families to manage them, particularly if you've got a household that you're running yourself.
Do you think there's an advantage to making that transition when you're going through it with someone as opposed to being alone, or do you think it's better to do it alone?
I think it's an individual process. So I could be in a room full of people who are going through the same process, but the fact that it's real for me, it's a personal journey. So even though there's a collective that we're going through similar stages of that process, an individual has to go through that process on their own. I'll liken it to a crew of people jumping out of a plane on in parachutes. You go up there as a team of people to jump, but when it's your turn to jump, you have to jump on your own.
Yeah.
And you've got to maintain yourself to make sure that you land appropriately. There might be some benefit in having somebody to discuss things with and get some emotional support around what might be happening, but that doesn't dilute the need or the necessity or the requirement to go through the process on your own.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you, Brother Byron, for that. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Let me
as always
go to another caller here. This is 904. I think this is Brother Tareem. Tareem, are you there?
Oh, your memory is wonderful, Sister Kim.
I'm telling you, I know y'all by now. Yeah, I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I just was doing the emotional blockage ritual, and I feel different right after I did it. So
you're doing what?
The emotional blockage ritual, and I feel different. I feel better. After I did it, so I'm willing that it worked and everything. But I had a question on willing something and asking, because is Brother Byron, if he's still on, are you saying that we should never ask for anything like spiritual protection or whatever the case? we should never ask. We should always will it. As far as like, I don't know, demand. If that's too strong of a word, I don't know if it is, but because for the most part, with me, I always ask. You know, so I don't know if am I doing it wrong or, you know, I don't know.
See, Brother Byron, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
Sister Kim.
Okay,
I'm here. So, for me, Brother Tariq, I would say that when you're asking, you are not putting as much of your own essence into what you're doing. So you're probably more in your head than in your full being. You utilizing your soul and your spirit when you're willing something when you're asking. So when you're asking, you're probably very much doing a cognitive process, a thought process, where you're just thinking what you might want and you're asking for it. But when you're willing it, you've probably recognized the fact that this is something that you need or that you strongly desire, and it might even be important to you. And so you're willing and utilizing the elements and the Orisha and the ancestors to work with you to make that change.
Okay.
Because you're going to do it anyway. You're going to do it anyway, to a degree. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So if you want spiritual protection, the mere fact that you've identified in spiritual protection will elevate the level of spiritual protection that you get, because you've identified it. Now, when you go to your ancestors, for example, you are willing them to work with you to provide that spiritual protection.
Okay.
Yeah?
I understand thoroughly. Yes, sir. I understand thoroughly.
I hope I'm
wondering
correct as well. Brother Tariq, that is just my experience. So if anybody's got anything to build on top of that, please do, because I'm talking from my experience, and I'm not claiming to be a know-all, my brother. But for me, that's what works for me.
Okay. Yeah, man. That sounds very sound, man. I can resonate with that. I was just thinking, you know, when you ask, spirit or the Goon or Orisha, I was thinking more of being humble, of humbling myself. You know what I'm saying? And it may be, the westernized mentality or whatnot, but that's what I was getting of why I was asking instead of demanding or willing that they do something for me. I was trying to come at a respectful, humble state.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I hear everything that you're saying. So when I'm speaking, I do agree that you should be respectful when you're working with your ancestors. And the word humble, I'm not so certain. You should be definitely respectful, but if you're humble to your ancestors, you're also being humble to yourself, because you are part of your ancestors and your ancestors are part of you. So definitely be respectful. And the Orisha are part of you also.
Okay.
So you've definitely got to be respectful in what you're doing. And obviously, it will be sensible not to go before any of your entities with an inflated ego, like you're telling them what to do and it's going to be done. It doesn't work. For me, it doesn't work that way. You can't tell them they're not a genie in a lamp. But you've got to work with them to walk, so they're walking or moving forward, or you're moving together.
Right.
So you might be doing the physical stuff to give you spiritual protection, like undertaking the rituals that are in grasping of the roots of divine power on the podcasts that we've had from Enlightenment and Transformation.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to you doing that now, when you're doing those rituals, you are in that, you are encouraging and willing your ancestors to work with you. Because you've been to your ancestors and you've willed them to work with you. You're physically working, doing rituals for yourself, and so you're creating some synergy between your ancestors and you to reinforce what you're doing.
Okay, yeah, because I was thinking about one show that one enlightenment and transformation show where Sister Kim, was talking about as far as like dealing with the spirits. It's like when you're going into the kitchen and trying to help your grandmom or something like that. You come and you have this aura where you're respectful, and she tells you whether she don't need this, she needs that.
No, I was talking about building a relationship. I wasn't necessarily.
Right.
I was just saying you have to work with certain energies, maybe more frequently, or work with your ancestors to build up an energy, because your shrines are like portals, so you have to build up an energy or some type of relationship with water to really get a full understanding of what water is before you start saying, do this for me or do that for me.
Right. And so with that, what I took from it, because with me, when I went, in front of my grandparents or, stuff like that, I was, humble. Like I was, I wasn't willing that my grandma, make this cake or, or whatever the case, whatever I wanted her to do. I was, coming to her in a humble light, like, because I know that she has the knowledge and the light to give me for what I need or what I want it to be done. So that's why I was asking, like, do you come, in a humble state, or do you, you come with the, willing state, and you broke it down, good for me, so I understand thoroughly now.
Yeah, I think for me, brother, the key thing is that it's the energy that you utilize when you're willing something to happen.
Okay.
Now, and I can say, and I think that's also, but that works best once you have cultivated the relationship that Sister Kim has just articulated there. Because when you are working with your Orisha and your Egun on a regular basis, and you spend time, and you're looking after their shrines, etc., and you spend time with them, on the occasion when you're busy, my brother, or you might be on the road, and it's just 2 minutes that you've got to check in with them, they're not going to be dismayed with you and think, oh, you just give me a quick check, because you've put the time in the relationship, and they're understanding that you are genuinely busy doing something for a period, and they'll work you the same way. But the difficulty might arise when the individual treats their energies as though it's a genie in a lamp.
Yeah.
There's no relationship built. They don't understand what is favorable. They don't understand when is the best time to approach them. Because I found something out, even the other day, I found out when it was best for me to approach my issue. And that was just perchance. It was just perchance. I went out there in the sunset, and I was giving him some offerings, which included palm oil. And when I gave him the palm oil, because of the quality of the light at sunset, the red has got a deeper and a sharper glow in the dawning, at sunrise and at sunset. And I looked back, and after I'd finished, and I turned away, I said, boy, that looks beautiful. The red was so sharp and piercing because of the time of the day. And from that, it just said to me, well, it seems there's more activation coming from Eshu at that time than when I might be doing it in the height of the daylight or if it's dark. So I'm trying to discipline myself to try to remember to go there either early in the dawning or at sunset regularly, because particularly when I'm giving palm oil, because that red that I saw from the palm oil was like fire.
Wow.
Oh, man, okay.
So that's just my own experience. That works for me. But I'll share it because I know it worked for me. I know it worked for me. So, but it's about building that relationship. So if I'm busy and I've got to go to Esho the ancestors, I might just be able to give them a quick check because I might be under pressure. But that doesn't mean I'm going to feel any less than, because they know that when I'm ready to go and sit on, I've got a log outside with my warriors. When I'm ready to go and sit on my log with them and we share a drink or I'm meditating with them, I'll go out there for half an hour, up to an hour, and I'll just sit there. You know, so. All right, my brother. I hope that helps.
Yes, sir.
I will that it helps.
Hello?
Never mind, hope.
Yeah, and you know what? Another thing, Tareem, I wanted to add, because Byron was sharing about, willing versus asking. I really learned a lot about the will, or what will is. That's like in the, the first exercise? And I think, too, the Orisha, working with the Orisha are different than working with your ancestors. Your ancestors have been here. They were people. They were human, So the Orisha are not people. We're just talking about energies. So they don't feel. They don't have emotions. They don't have character and, things like that, like people do. So when I think about will, just from reading the book and going through the class, your will has no shade. It has no character. It doesn't like you or dislike you or get upset with you or not get upset with you. So when I think about the Orisha, when I say I'm willing them to do something, I'm saying do what you're supposed to do. This is what this energy does. So you're willing it to happen. Like, do your will. Just like, when we talk to or try or communicate with your Ori, and you're trying to get that Ori to align with the spirit, it's like you're activating your will so that you will act out your will, not your personality or your emotions or what you're feeling at the time or anything like that. You're activating your will. So I'm looking at it, I guess, in the sense of a noun. Like, this is what you do. Water or fresh water, Oshun, this is what you do. So I'm willing you do it, to do this. Whereas if I'm talking to an ancestor, that's a little bit different because they were humans. And so I can go to them and talk to them about how I feel or what I'm feeling. And it's a bit of a different type of relationship. Does that make any sense? So it's like that's like some of the first lessons you learn. It's like at the beginning of the book in Grasping the Root of Divine Power, where you talk about will and Ori and everything. And like that's like the first lesson in the class too. So you can kind of visit that to get a deeper understanding too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
So don't look at them as people. Like they're not people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to? Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask one quick question about what you were just talking about, your environment. So, like, it's like, cause I want to work with my Ori, right? Because I'm trying to study my Ori and with the ancestors. So, like, with me doing, like, affirmations, is that, like, an offering or ritual that I will be giving to my Ori, like, to feed that energy so that I can connect more with it?
What are you saying in your affirmations? Like, stuff like. Mm-hmm. I look at it like this, and this is just me and what I've experienced. When I'm thinking about Ori, of course, again, we're talking about, where your soul resides or where your soul is. And we know that the soul can't be destroyed, right? It's perfect. Mm-hmm. So if I'm trying to find out what this living, since it can't be destroyed, it's always alive, right? It's always there it's always there, like asserting itself or directing itself. So when I think about that, first of all, it's like, because I've been so unaware of it for so long, and didn't know what it was I'm supposed to do, for me, I have to clean and feed and refresh it first. And so affirmations, it's like I don't, or maybe I'm not getting what you're saying because, or understanding what you're affirming. But when I guess, the offerings and the cleansings and the feeding is more of an affirmation for me, because I'm like, it's been for me, and it's been covered in dust for me for so long that it's like, okay, let me clean it. I got to do a whole lot of cleaning first because I can't see it, I can't hear it. So I need to clean. It's just like, you have like if you go into an abandoned house and they've got maybe 2 inches of dust on a table or something, like how some of that dust is settled so long, it's hard, and just getting like a little feather duster is not going to get all the dirt off. So you may have to do more cleaning and more scrubbing. So it's like I feel like I have to clean and scrub and scrub and scrub. And then, even then, it's like I need to strengthen it, give it some energy so that I can hear it. Or I need to feed it. And then even between the feed, it's like, okay, let me refresh it. That's every morning when you do your, Ori San Mi, when you're refreshing that, Ori, So for me, that's how I interpret and work with it. So there are times when I do, when you cleanse it daily and feed it daily or refresh it daily. And then there's a show that Chief did on this, actually, where he was like, you can do this particular ritual like maybe once a month, because it's quite extensive. It's a pretty long ritual, but it's very powerful. So then I'll do like a cleansing like that, or maybe do a head washing, a head cleansing, that Chief does, or that he showed us how to do. So to me, like the cleansing and just trying to clean it and give it some strength is what I'm thinking about when I hear you say affirm. So I'm not just saying, I don't know what you're saying or whatever when you're doing it, but that's what I'm thinking of.
So I was just like, just regular affirmation, like I am great, I am awesome, stuff like that. I can do this. Just regular stuff like that. Because I was thinking, like, is that a way to feed your Ori? Because you're telling yourself that I am great, I am worthy, these type of things, and you're saying these things because you want to, connect with your soul. You want to, heal yourself from the root down. So I was thinking, like, I wonder if that's a feeding or offering, to it, to kind of like, it's like you're going to your Ori shrine and just feeding it with words to kind of just give it that energy so that you can manifest with your Ori.
Where's your Ori shrine?
Well, I was just thinking of my head being the shrine, like myself.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was
going. Sister Kim.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask also, just building off what the sister was saying, like, sometimes, and I wanted to ask, like, sometimes in order for me to try to activate my Ori, I speak the words that I heard, Chief say in regards to the Ori. You see what I'm saying? Like, the words that he be saying, in the phase 1, the Ori Ini Iwoni, I be speaking that when I be meditating, to try to activate.
You talking about the different parts of the Ori?
Well, not the different parts. I do it as a whole. Like when I'm trying to activate, I know the different parts, like the Ori.
Oh no.
And,
Yeah, I was just trying to understand what you were saying. You said you speak the words. I didn't understand what you meant.
Okay.
You speak the words that Chief said.
Yeah, that Chief speaks. When like on the challenge, on the phase 1 challenge, where he was saying, where he was speaking about the Ori. He was speaking about, the Ori being you, and that you are the Ori, and
Oh,
you know, stuff like that. But before he did that, before he spoke on it, he said a little prayer or whatnot to the oil. And I basically I wrote the words down, and I try to recite it to the best of my ability to try to try to activate my aura.
Yeah. That's fine. That's good. I think that's a great idea. No problem with that at all. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even the in grasping the root of divine power, the prayer there. That's definitely something you want to learn and memorize and use, quite often, because it works. Chief always says like he's not going to give you anything that he hasn't tested or tried out himself or that doesn't work. So it definitely works. That's something you can do, when you're making your offerings or whatever in the dawning, and giving yourself a light cleanse.
Oh yeah, I do. I've learned to do that. Just follow Chief with it, because I be trying to figure out what different stuff to say to activate my my spiritual life and everything. So I just follow whatever I read in the books and whatever he said, as far as like when he's doing it.
Yeah.
Sister Kim, could I just chip in for a moment? So I just really wanted to just a comment, because sometimes things come to me when I'm speaking and I don't say them, and so it's just come back to me again. On one occasion, somebody in my family was in a big bind, and the only person that could loose them was Baba Ogun. So when they were basically in the court, I put on my green two-piece African suit, and I went to Ogun. And I didn't know how long I was going to be there, but I was there, and I was willing Ogun. I was picking up the knives, and I was stabbing and chopping, utilizing some of the things up in the Ogun pot. And by the time I finished, my vest and my shirt was soaked with sweat. I'd been shouting, I'd been hitting the Ogun pot, I'd been beseeching and willing and working with Ogun. And what I wanted to say is that we are African, we are West African. So we will see from Nollywood films, etc., that we are very expressive. When we cry, our village and our community cries. When we are happy, we express it from within ourselves, outwards. And so when we're working with our Orisha and working with our Egun, we cannot approach them as an altar boy in a Roman Catholic church. We've got to work our bodies. We've got to work our emotion, the motion and the emotion. We've got to work it. We've got to work it because we're willing it to happen. And even by the activation of the movement of our bodies, when we're willing and working with our Orisha and Egun, that is again going to help make things work out the way we want them to work. I'd never imagined, I can remember this occasion because I was very young in the tradition at that time, and I'd just been given my warriors. I was very young. I was cultivating my relationship with my warriors at that time. It was probably less than a year I'd had my warriors, but I was working. No one told me to do it for the length of time. Nobody told me to work my body the way I worked it. But I am telling you as a certainty, everything that person was in the courthouse was released. Everything that person wanted, they got out of that courthouse. Every single thing. And I'm telling you, when it's one person going into a courtroom basically of 12, 15 people, and probably 13, 14 of those 15 people want that person down, want that person to lose. And Ogun switched it. They got everything that they wanted, every single thing that they wanted. And I'm not saying it's me, because I never did it. I'm not going to take the credit. What I'm saying is that I willed Ogun to do the business.
Yes.
And in willing it, it wasn't just me chatting or reciting something. It was coming with energy and emotion and passion, as we naturally behave as West African people.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to drop that one in there.
Yeah.
But I didn't think I'd been as specific. When I was saying will, I'm probably describing the act of willing now. It's not just reciting, it's getting in there, you know.
Yeah, you got to get down.
Yeah,
you got to get down. I'm telling you.
If we want it to happen.
Right. If we want it
to happen to Sikkim, we've got to put the work in.
You have got to get down. Let me tell you, because, you know, and she said something about that recently. I think that was last night. He was like, look, you got Donald Trump building walls costing billions of dollars. You got all these other entities doing physical things, putting a lot of money, time, effort, energy, and stuff into it. And you're coming with your little cup of water. You know, and it made me think of that when he said it, because there have been times, like you said, Brother Byron, when you go to your shrine and you're there for hours and it is exhausting. You really have to work it up. It's like, I may have to dance, I may have to do all types of things just to, you know, to get it going. And part of saying the Adoras, I think, in Yoruba, and saying those words in Yoruba, it creates a completely different frequency than when you're speaking in English. And you really, it's like it activates something. And before you know it, it's like the words are just rolling off your tongue, and you are just in it. You are in it. And there have been times, for me personally, I like to do a lot of my spiritual work like at midnight or later. And I'm telling you, there have been times when I've been there for 4 hours, 3-4 hours, nonstop, you know, and you got the drums going, you got music going, you're dancing, like you said, you have really got to get in there and work out. And that energy and the energy that is the ashe, I should say, that is activated and is active in that moment. It's just unbelievable. And it's like when you're working at that level, asking, can something be done, does not even enter your mind. It's like you already know it's being done. Like
it's being done.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I was gonna ask you, like, when you really getting it in like that, like, what do you do to activate the ashe like that? Like, you get drums, or you dance, or you clap. It's just doing whatever comes to your mind. Like, is that? Or
and I'm telling you, it depends on you. It depends on you, and it depends on, I think, how you, again, that relationship that you have with that particular energy. You remember the time, I think I even used this example, how sometimes you might have, I don't know, that uncle or somebody that you need to talk to, or whomever in the family that may drink, and you don't drink alcohol. But it's like, you know, this person has the answer that you need. You need to go and talk to them and get a solution. And so when you go to them, if they're drinking, they may not even talk to you because they'll be the ones, here, have a drink. You be like, no, I don't want anything. He's like, man, go and take a drink. You're like, no, I'm okay, I'm all right. And they'll keep telling you, nope, take a drink. And you may have to take a drink before, you know, to kind of break the barrier to talk to them. So I think it depends on, like, your relationship with a particular energy. Just over time, it's like you'll kind of learn, like Brother Byron was saying with the palm oil. Over time, you'll learn what you need to do. And on top of that, you know, in your experimentation as you're doing it, you are, you know, casting Obi to see what's needed, or to see if this is sufficient, or do you want this, or do you want that, or is this enough, or, you know, you're asking at the same time. So you know, you're experimenting, but over time, it's like just that relationship that you have with the energy. You already know this is what I got to come with every time. You know, just like you go to your mechanic, your little shade tree mechanic, you already know you got to pay him with some alcohol or something, whatever, pack of cigarettes, whatever it is that they need. You know what I mean? So it's like over time, you learn how that relationship is with you, because your Ogun and my Ogun are not the same. Your relationship with Ogun and my relationship, they're not the same. So what you may do to activate Ogun may not work for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There are some basics, like you get in the book, some different things to offer and everything. But just like Chief was saying last night, to get started.
Okay.
But just over time, you'll start to learn, like Chief was saying last night, just different ways to do certain things. Like he was saying with the battery acid and, you know, all this other kind of stuff. You know, you'll start to experiment a little bit more, and it'll become more natural to you. And you're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna use this, or I'm gonna use that. But those are, you know, some basic. Of course, those are some basic things. But when you are in it, I mean, I can't even describe it. It's like after you've spent some time with those energies, it's like you'll start to know. Like I know, particularly with Eshu, for me, to get that energy present, gotta take a few sips of rum, and I offer cigar smoke every time. Every time I've even tried, you know, to not going for, like, if I don't do it, to see if it's okay if I don't. And every time it'll come back. Nope, need that cigar. Nope. Take a sip, take a capful of the rum, or spray the rum out, or whatever,
Right.
So just for me.
But you cast Obi, Sister Kim. You cast Obi to figure out
initially.
If that's what.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But then there are some times when I don't have to. There have been times when I've because I always have it there just to be, to be sure. But there have been times where before I cast, I'm like, oh, I already know the energy's present. I already know. I just know it. Something will happen, and I'll just know. And as soon as I cast, boom, I got the answer that, that it is present. So it's like sometimes you'll just know because you'll be just in the habit of doing it, and you just kind of know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I understand.
So it just takes time. It takes time.
Especially. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying because I work with, Obi to, communicate with my ancestors. Like, when I see different rituals and, I ask, can I do them or, not, I ask, I don't know how to wield it yet, but I'm still working with it. Because I don't want to do nothing that's going to, hurt myself from a situation if I'm going into the unknown. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I use my Obi a lot, to ask. And they guide me, and I do it. If they say yes, go ahead, then I go ahead and do it,
Yeah. Yeah. Have you gotten to that part of the class yet? Or that's something that you already knew how to use before coming to the class?
I was taught how to use it before coming to the class. I found out the class maybe like 2 weeks later. And when I was reading the book of Grasping the Roots of Divine Power, and I seen, the Akeemeron, like in big, I was like, okay, well, this is, why I'm doing that or why I'm saying that. Or,
okay.
What's going on? It's the same thing. So,
so it was taught to you, but you didn't know why you were saying it.
I mean, yeah, because when I was taught how to do it, it was kind of, I ain't going to say kind of quick, but it's just basically, he said, this is how you do it. You north, south, east, west, blow, and say Akeemeron 3 times. Like, and I was like, okay. So I did it, but when I got the book, it was like, it was a thorough explanation of why, of what, what it really was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm thankful, because the book just came across, like, I heard it like 2 weeks later, because the priest that I, got initiated by, I couldn't really, think of all the questions I needed to ask, at the time that, it was going on. I just went through everything. And so when it happened, now I got a thorough understanding of, the Obi, of, Alafia, and, the Jefe, and, you know what I'm saying? I got an understanding of what it is. So, I'm just appreciative of that, So I didn't know that you could use your Obi, in every single situation.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, definitely. I do. I use it definitely to cast, to make sure certain things are done correctly or are present. How far are you into the class? Are you signed up for the challenge?
I'm trying to. I've been looking for the challenge. Like, I have my new app and everything, but I've been trying to find out where the challenge is.
Okay.
And that's what I was gonna ask you too. Like, it says explore anew, get involved, and I went through all them, but I can't find the challenge.
You should be able to go to seduluhouse.com and do it that way. I haven't checked through the app. Let's see. I haven't checked through the app to see if you can sign up that way or not.
Okay.
Sure.
So I have to go to Sedulu House to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may be able to do it that way on the app. I'm not sure. I don't know that you can that way. I'll have to check and make sure, but you can go to seduluhouse.com.
Okay.
/AST1 challenge. But yeah.
Hold on. I'm right here now. So no, I'm trying to get it. /AST1 challenge. AS1 challenge. Okay. Because I was trying to find it. Like, where can I find it? Because I want to, be able to go. I was with the first challenge though, with the black, with the black candle and stuff like that. I don't have a space where it could be dark enough for me to do that challenge. I might have to rent a storage or something.
Can you go in the bathroom? Can you do it in the bathroom?
I mean, but the mirror is not big enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, he said get a full body mirror. My mirror is not, it's big. It's like, so I was trying to figure out, where I could do it. But I might have
those little $5 mirrors you can get like at Walmart or something like that. Little $5 that are full length that usually people hang on the backs of doors. Those are really cheap that you can use.
Oh yeah, those little small. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that you just stick on the back of a door. You can hang it on the back of a door. They're like $4 or $5.
Right. Yeah, okay.
You can use that.
Yeah, I'll try to do that there. So, but yeah, I thank y'all, man. It's really been helpful. It's really balancing me, out so I can go through life, peacefully,
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it'll be peaceful. I can't say that it will be.
I don't know. I haven't gotten to the tumultuous times yet, but it's helping me still.
Okay, that's good.
Balance my mind out so I can learn how to remain peaceful during those times. They are to come.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Brother Tareem, for calling in and asking your questions. I'm pretty sure you probably asked a question that someone else wanted to know as well. So I think everybody probably had a lot to gain from what Brother Byron said and Anwar and everybody else contributing. So, just thank you for that. And
yes.
We have come to the end of the show. So I just want to say thank you to everybody and make sure if you want to sign up to be a part of the Phase 1 Challenge, you can go to seduluhouse.com/AST1, the number 1, challenge. All right?
Yeah.
And that's where you go to get registered. And you have to be enrolled in Phase 1, not the free Orisha class, but you have to be enrolled into the Anu Spiritual Training Phase 1 to be able to participate. All right? And so that's actually going to get kicked off next Monday. On the 29th is when we'll start with the first exercise. So that's to help you all, kind of move through it as a group and have a little bit more support. We're going to, try to help you all out with that. So it'll start on the 29th. If you want to sign up for classes and be a part of that, you can go to seduluhouse.com and make sure that you can actually type in Phase 1 Challenge too in the search engine if you go to seduluhouse.com, and it'll take you to it. But AST as in Anu Spiritual Training, the number 1 challenge, seduluhouse.com. Okay. So again, thank you all for calling in, and we'll be back tomorrow, which is Friday, because I got the days all mixed up. Tomorrow is Friday, and I'll be back from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I got it right this time because I thought today was Friday. But tomorrow, 7 to 9. So make sure you call in and join us, and we'll help you get your day kicked off. So I'll speak with you all then. Enjoy your day. Peace.
Peace. Adabo.